If I can have everyone's attention, I'd like to call the October 20th, 2016 meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Education to order. If we could all rise, and we'll do the Invitational Pledge.
Heavenly Father, you have blessed us in so many ways, and the biggest thing that you have given us is our relationships with each other. They're so key to what we do here in the school system. We appreciate all the efforts the teachers make to make the day for the student the best that they can have, that they can learn to their full capacity and learn to appreciate who they are and who others are. Help us always to be able to make the decisions that make the things in the classroom go as well as they do. Bless this country as we face an election in the next few weeks, that we all pray and make sure that we make the right decisions and that our country will be strong from here on out. Lead us, guide us, and direct us. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have before us an agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Nancy and a second by Kristin. All in favor? Unanimous. Next, we have recognitions, and I believe Ms. Fonda Harrison is going to do that today.
Good evening. This is our opportunity to recognize our Employee of the Month, and we're excited to be able to do that. This month, if I can have Ms. Patty Wallace come up. Before you go down, share some things others have said about you. Stand here.
She only says nice things.
Right. Patty is an amazing administrative assistant, not only to the administrators in the building, but also to the staff. I also love the way she speaks and interacts with our students when they have questions or needs. Someone else said she works extra hard to get everything done. Often, she is the guiding light on a gloomy day. Someone else says Patty is our go-to person. She works many hours preparing, carrying out, and executing the variety of tasks that are given to her. I thought this one was interesting. At the beginning of the 2016 school year, I began my 20th year as an educator, but my first year as a teacher at South Forsyth Middle School. As any person who is new to a work setting, I had many questions. Ms. Patty Wallace came to the rescue, not only with answers, but also with a positive and welcoming attitude. Congratulations. We also want to thank Jim and Nix for being our sponsor for our Employee of the Month. And if there are any family members or staff members that work with Patty, if you'll please stand so we can recognize you as well. Okay, our next presentation is actually our Superior Spotlight for tonight. And I will turn that over to Dawn Martin from South Forsyth High School, Culinary Arts, and also Valerie.
Good afternoon. We have something that we've shared with a couple of groups already, so we're excited to share this with you. But over the summer, our culinary arts programs at South Forsyth, West Forsyth, and Lambert had the experience to take what they've done in the classroom through their pathway over to Italy to try to see how that relates to what they had been doing in the classroom. You guys have seen this framework a lot of times. It's kind of where we put our focus and our priorities for each year as teachers, and you'll see in the work-based learning component, we do encourage our teachers to have cultural experiences around their pathway, should that fit into what they're able to do with their programs. So many of ours have taken that up, and Dawn was the first one to say that she wanted to do that with culinary arts. So we worked closely with EF Tours to develop and define tours very specific to a pathway. So this is not and Dawn can tell you a little bit more about that, but this is not a CAN curriculum or a CAN program. They work with our programs to determine what facilities, what experiences we want our students to have overseas, which has been remarkable. So we've been working on that, and like I said, Dawn was really, I think, our first trip to do that. So EF Tours has helped us do that. So they're going to share a little bit more about their summer, what they did, and also here with us is Carrie McAllister, AP at South Forsyth over Career Tech.
And as I talk to you, I'm going to have to talk really fast to try to get in a lot of things in a short amount of time. So it was so exciting, it's just really hard not to do that. So what we decided to do, we were looking for a way that we could work a little bit more community-based. As you know, all of our high schools are very fierce competitors at everything that we do. And that doesn't stop with culinary either, but we wanted to find a way to make it more of a community effort. So we are the first trip in the United States to do this, and we were a private tour, and we went over there and took 48 students, teachers, and parents, and we stayed 10 days. We hired a French chef to take us into Italy, and EF Tours worked fabulous with us because it had never been done before, and so we were able to handpick what we wanted to do, and we had some great experiences. I don't think there was anything, and as you can go through here and look, this is just some of the scenery, and this was in Rome, and then we looked at some of the history, and we got to, a lot of great conversations as we did that. One of the oldest walks ever, the Appian Way and the aqueducts, and looking at some of those things at St. Peter Basilicus. Felt like a queen eating in a castle, which was really nice. And then the culture was great, and I'm going to let Alexa speak a little bit more about what she learned about the culture. If you notice that slide before, that's what they call fast food. And this is at their grocery stores, what you can go get fresh. And then kind of typically what happened at the table. And another reason that we wanted to do this is they learn how to cook, and they see a lot of the back of the house. But our students don't get to go out together as a family and go and eat at a 2-3-star dining facility, so they really don't know. We're trying to teach them, but if they haven't been on the other side of the table, how do you teach these things if you haven't seen it, if you haven't had that service? So that was another thing. Another reason we wanted to go is that international experience. Being part of an IB school is great, but what I'm looking at now, post-secondary schools are now saying, hey, what kind of international experience have you had? We can say, we got you on that one. So it's really nice to be able to have that in our pocket as well. And this was after eating at a very nice restaurant, and just some of the things, eating outside was fabulous, and it was really great. Some of the foods, and I just had to show you this. Is this really what they think of us? So that was really great too, for them to say, hey, what is the culture? What do they think about us? What do we think about them? And it's a lot different sometimes. And then seeing this fabulous sand art and watching and learning to respect and learning a little bit about that. And then the educational component. They did several cooking classes, and yes, we learned ways to cook, and this was in Florence, and then we got to go to the Barilla School. And the chef there that you see on the left, oh my goodness, he was intense. So they got to see behind the scenes what it was like to work with someone who doesn't finish their sentence and they come back and he is yelling at them, why is this not done? And wanting to know what is going on. So they had a fabulous time. This is just showing, it was a 4-star meal. And that was the whole group, and the guy there on the end, that is our French chef, and it was really fun to listen to them. We got to learn about balsamic vinegars, peppers, and then, of course, our Parmesan cheese trip, prosciutto. And the reason I'm showing you this really weird picture also shows when they're importing things, look at the difference. And one of those is on wood, and the other one is on stainless steel. In order for it to be shipped to the United States, USDA requires stainless steel. And if you saw an up-close picture, you would understand why. And in case you like to eat it, I'm not going to tell you why. But it just shows you a little bit more, just the best balsamic vinegar ever. And this lady followed us for 2 miles on her bicycle because we were lost. And we followed her on one of those big buses to get to her house. This is where Liquid Gold, the top 1% of the best balsamic vinegar is. And so that was a lot of fun. And there's something missing here in this picture that I want to end with. Do you see a phone? They were truly engaged. And they were talking and they were looking, and what we did is we didn't let all Lambert people sit over here and all South people. We made them work together. And as we started this out, we had an Italian chef come to South, and they kind of a get to know you, and then to learn a little bit about the culture and a little bit about the food. And it was one of those moments when all three of the teachers went, "Look what you don't see here." And it was so phenomenal, because this is one of the things that we, looking at soft skills and trying to see what, with the work-based learning component, what is it you want us to teach them? This was one of them. But they were so engaged in it, and it was just a phenomenal experience. So now I'm going to let Alexis tell you what she learned.
Hi, I'm Alexis Thomas. I'm a senior at South Forsyth, and I went on the Italy trip this past summer, and something that was a great exposure to the culture was the market that Chef was talking about. Just seeing their food to table compared to ours. We go into the grocery store and it's not as fresh as there. And there was a pig literally that had just been slaughtered coming in, and we see that it's that fresh there. And having that exposure in Italy that you can't get here in the United States was just really incredible to see that, and being able to take those fresh ingredients and using that in recipes, and actually learning skills from the Italian chefs and the French chefs was just a great experience.
Were they on you as much as I'm sure Dawn is about your knife skills and about safety and about cleanliness?
Even more. They were a little intense, but it was good to have that exposure, to be able to just have different experience with a different chef than Chef Martin. So
What was your favorite?
my favorite,
Mhm.
chef, or I liked the one actually that was kind of the Barilla chef that was kind of hardcore. I thought that was just I don't know, he would just get started and you'd be like, oh, okay, I gotta get this done fast, and then you'd go and then he'd be back and be like, why is it not done? But it just taught you you gotta go quicker sometimes than we're used to being a little slower in the lab, but having him being okay, come on, that was good to have that. So.
What was your favorite meal?
I was thinking the same thing.
We made gnocchi, which was really good. It's rolled pasta. You roll it on what's it called? The
It's just a little special
tool that you just roll it. And then we made fresh marinara sauce with that. So that was probably my favorite.
That's funny, that's what we had for lunch today, that the culinary
Was
students
the
made for us.
gnocchi.
Was gnocchi. Very good.
Well, wonderful.
And I have one caveat to, just to take home from this. We had one student that actually, his brother is in his early 20s, and he got a second job to allow his younger brother to go. And this younger brother, they've recently moved here, and they said, we want you to be a chef. We're going to open a restaurant. And so all their hopes and dreams are on that. No pressure, right, for a high schooler. And the brother got the job and made it so that he could go. The boy didn't speak 3 words. I don't think I ever heard him say 3 words. He is just that quiet. And I asked him, how are you enjoying this? And he looked when he got off the bus and he went, I never thought I would see anything like this in my life. And you're inside, you're going, yes, this is why I do this. And then when we got home, we're doing a second trip to southern Italy and to Greece. He came in and he came into our meeting. And we said, hey, would you speak? He was the first one to stand up, and he said, yes, I'm going, and this is why you should go. So thank you guys for supporting us and for doing all that y'all do to allow us to have these kind of caveat moments.
Thank you, guys.
Great.
I kind of want to go. I know.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll take a couple minutes, and if you would like to slip out now, you're welcome to. If not, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Okay, if I can call the meeting back to order. Next, we have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Ann and a second by Nancy. All in favor? Unanimous. Next, we have public participation. Our board policy, BCBI, sets forth the rules for public participation, and copies are available on the back table. Anyone requesting to speak to the board must sign a form indicating that they've read and will follow the requirements of the policy. Tonight, Ms. Kristina Deisler has requested to speak to the board. Public participation is designed to allow citizens to speak to the board and board members do not respond during this part of the agenda unless they have specific questions for the presenter. Ms. Deisler, you may proceed. Did I get close to your name?
Close, yes.
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm not used to talking to people like this, but I was just here to talk to you guys today about the internet safety and our children. As adults, we understand that what we say online lasts forever. Things that we say in protest, things we say in support. We often share things on Facebook for our family and friends to see. Maybe our child was featured on the Forsyth County Facebook page, and we would like to share that post with our family and our friends. Who wouldn't be proud and supportive of that? I'll tell you who, people who are angry, and people who are looking to make an example and use whatever target is out there. If you recall, we had a beautiful little girl as our cover child for our Forsyth County webpage. And after recent events, I don't want to go into, comments were shared on her picture that were pointing out her ethnicity, pointing out her probable race, and these are people that don't know her. These comments will last forever. There's often posts shared there about events that are going on. People are also commenting on these kinds of photos. I understand that occasionally conflict will arise, and sometimes it's for the best, as these things begin to point to things that require attention and change. There's a time and a place for that kind of activity. We have board meetings, which we can attend, which will allow appropriate time and a place to voice concerns. We have town hall, which is often the place to gather to demand change. What I don't feel is healthy is when people from all over the world shout their oppression while using pictures of our children. I understand we sign a waiver saying that it's okay for our children's pictures to be used on Facebook. It's all included on the same waiver that we allow to have our child pictured in the yearbook. A yearbook is something that the child in a community can share together. It's a way to remember who their friends were, who was the class clown. Sure, it can be bought or borrowed by anyone in the world, but why would anybody outside the community really care? So Forsyth County Schools and every school in the district has a Facebook page. I love that I can have more ways to get information about my child's school. I love that I can see parents' pictures of the splatter dash. I love knowing that a school nearby is having a holiday play or a chorus concert. It's a great way to further the communication with our district. How could a good thing go so wrong? In these times, no institution or website is safe. The slightest stumble in the operation of a business or an organization or a school can create a wave of emotions across the country. It's fueled by a passion I'm sure that we all feel sometimes. The difference is that I would not take that passion to make remarks about a child who might be sitting next to my child in a class. I wouldn't say things like, they like their farm fresh tomatoes with a slice of ice-cold racism to the very people that serve my children lunch every day. It's very easy for people to have something to say when they are in a different state behind a computer screen, and not one of those people are here today because they are not a part of our community. Our schools were working hand in hand with the police to monitor our school's Facebook page after the recent events. Chastity had to take down their Facebook page. Protesters were watching, and they were speaking to each other on our forum. They were organizing under our very nose and targeting members of our community, business owners. And they were slandering their businesses as well. We are lucky that it died down fairly quickly, but what if it hadn't? Do we really need to make our children targets of protest? There were lots of posts during this where racism was reflected on our entire community. If it hadn't died down, maybe the world would have shown up at our school's front doors with pitchforks. And with a protest outside, we wouldn't open the school's front doors to allow anybody in to say anything they want to any of our students. And I feel the same thing should apply to our school's Facebook pages. Let me also say that our own children are reading these remarks as well, and sometimes they do see stuff before it gets censored, and it's just not healthy. Does Facebook as it is now really benefit us, and what purpose is it really serving? In an article here by Densmore and Scholl, LLP, they say, first and foremost, any school board contemplating the creation of a Facebook page for school district business should carefully consider how the page will be administered. Will the page be read-only and have content posted solely by the school board or its designated employees? Or will the school board allow fans of the page to post comments and opinions? This level of access granted to the general public may have a profound impact on the board's control of its page. I say that this is our Facebook page. And this features our children and our well-loved staff. Everyone has the right to free speech, but I feel that free speech on our children's pictures should be restricted to only those that are in our community. There's no accountability out there in cyberspace when someone can have 10 different accounts and use whichever one fits a particular situation. Not one of those commenters even thought about the children's pictures that they were commenting on. After the winds of change blow over and the protest has left our town, their hasty words will remain. And then they shall remain forever as far as we know. This needs to be remedied by adults who know better. I don't know what the solution is. There's lots of different ways that you can set it up. You can have Facebook page with no comments. You can have Facebook page with comments for only fans, and you could be a fan by submitting a code when you join, and that would be something that'd be a lot easier. I did check the page today, and it looks like a lot of the comments were locked down, where it will show that there were 69 comments on this picture, but you can't see them anymore. And I understand the school board has that right, or whoever does the page has that right to do that. But there's just lots of sticky areas, and I think that this is something that we need to address and come up with a solution for. That's all I really have to say.
Thank you
very much.
And I'm sure in light of recent events that this will be looked into, and we appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have presentation and discussion items. And that would be the finance report with Mr. Rick Gunn.
I don't know, you've got to follow the culinary arts report.
Yeah.
I don't have any pictures of Italy. I just have spreadsheets. But those were exciting to me, so.
Right.
Okay, well, I have for you the month of September financial statements. Our statement of cash receipts and disbursements. We began the month with almost $28 million. Our receipts were $31.8 million. Disbursements $36.2 million, leaving a balance of $23.5 million. We are, at the end of September, $16 million ahead of where we were this time last year. You also see under reimbursements, capital project fund, deposit on land. That was the funds that the general fund had to put down for the land for the Alliance Academy, and it's just being reimbursed by capital projects, by the bond itself. Year-to-date revenue, not a lot to talk about really, about $10 million in ad valorem. About 24% of our state earnings have come in, so we're right at 16.8%. Year-to-date budget report, you see revenues at 16.8, expenditures are at 25.7%, so we're right at where we should be for a quarter into the year. Check register, we issued 805 checks or wires for $21,941,000. Debt services analysis for the month, we have $1,700,000 left in the regular debt service account. Had a transfer out of $125,000 going back to the general fund. If you remember last year, we had to loan about $3.5 million to debt service to get it through the month of July. This year it was only $125,000. And again, you can see the SPLOST balance. SPLOST tax for the month was $2,955,000, leaving a balance of $42.7 million. This is the investment analysis for the month. You can see each of the different funds with the investment that's in it. First column there is the 2014, should read 2014-2016 bond. That's the balance of $58 million in that account. Alliance has $26.5 million, and SPLOST 4 has $42.7 million. And you can see the transfers out. Those are all going to the capital projects fund to pay billings. The SPLOST activity, for the month we took in $2,955,000. It was only $18,000 less than it was the previous month. And you can see it's more or less a bouncing ball. Some months it's up, some months it's down. But so far we've taken in almost $138 million. Cash receipts and disbursements. We have both the month of August and September here. This is all of the elementary schools for August. middle and high schools for August, and a nice little chart showing where the money's at each of the schools. But the total balance at the end of August, $7,300,000 in the school accounts. Had the same reports for September, for elementaries, middles and highs. And the last page shows $8 million for an ending balance, and again, you can see the split between the various schools. So any questions on the financials?
I love this format.
I do too. I do too.
Rick, how far along is our internal auditor who's been going out to all the schools?
He's got about 8 elementaries left.
Okay.
And so far, what he's found has been the same thing our auditors usually find, is
Right.
documentation items, signatures in certain places where they shouldn't be, invoices done before the date of the purchase requisition, that type, nothing major.
Yeah.
He's actually been surprised. He came from Cherokee County. He assumed, coming over that he'd start seeing some things and, oh, y'all haven't, you've got to do this. And he's been really surprised at the condition of the books.
That's great.
It's been a good exercise for us to go through, and
Totally.
as large as we are now, it's just so important that we have those internal controls in place. And of course, our external auditors come in, they like to see that
Oh, yes.
as well.
And they'll
That
be
we're
here.
checking and double checking, it's so
Prevention.
important, absolutely.
Second week of November,
Yeah.
they'll be here.
Yeah.
And Cameron's
you
found a lot of
referred
stuff.
to
He looks in a lot of places that people hadn't thought about
Right.
looking.
Right.
So he's, the first year we're going through, it's more or less corrective action plans. It's not really a slap on the wrist.
Right.
And he does a nice audit report for the principal and explaining everything he found, what he looked at, why. It's amazing the documentation that he has for his audits.
Which tells us the training for the bookkeepers have been really good, since he's finding
Oh, yes.
so few discrepancies.
And based on his
Training's been
findings, we're going to be rewriting our handbook that the
Yeah.
schools use.
Great.
So has he already done the high schools and middle schools?
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm. And he did a mix of everything just to see how they were all looking. He focused on the high schools over the summer, because those are the ones that he had stayed basically for about a week at. And it's a top to bottom review. You can ask any of the principals and the bookkeepers. I mean, he's thorough, but he's trying to, hold their hand at the same time rather than slap it and say, this is how you should be doing this. And he said they're all basically getting to the end result. They're just getting there in different ways through their accounting records. But
Well, our high schools have some huge accounts for all
Oh,
the
yes.
clubs and activities and
sure.
things like that. It's just so important that we.
And a lot of this is
Yeah.
just the thought that someone's looking over your shoulder,
Right.
just
Sure.
like prevention,
Absolutely. Yeah.
just human
Good
nature. So, okay.
All righty, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Okay, next is action items, and we have no action items. Next is points of information. Do you have anything?
No, other than, I'm continuing my tour of all the fourth grades in Forsyth County, sixth grade language, arts, social studies, and high school science, and just seeing so many great examples, again, of personalized learning, lots of hands-on. The science labs have been tremendous that I've had a chance to go into, and watching the kids apply what they've learned in the classroom and the lab setting has been really, really impressive. Our students, and you know this, having a senior graduate here last year, are leaving our high school so prepared for post-secondary experiences, and a lot of it has to do with the hands-on experience they get in our classrooms. But it's just been awesome going through all the schools this semester. It really has.
Great.
That's it.
Okay, next we have on the agenda is executive session, but we don't have any personnel, so we have none needed. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Kristin and a second by Nancy, all in favor. Unanimous.